Good morning. It is time to look at spot freight, see what's going on, and then we'll talk about some other things. I am tired. All right. Good morning. It is Wednesday. Let's get rid of that. Remove that. It is Wednesday, February 25th. The month is almost over. 28 days this month, right? We got our coffee. Hope you're enjoying your coffee. I didn't go live last week because I was pretty much working. And last week, I don't know, man. There's something I don't know. There's something wrong with me. So I was tired. I was irritable. And I don't know, I think I put a hashtag exhausted on this. Rates are doing really good right now. And what's exhausting is there's a few things exhausting me. Number one, the brokers are playing a lot of games right now because I believe it's bleeding down from the shippers. So the shippers are playing a lot of games right now too. Products either not ready, or they found the cheaper truck, or they found the cheaper broker. And so there's a lot of canceled loads, a lot of, it's almost like Christmas time. It's gotten that bad. And I had one broker that owed us about $180, almost $200 in detention. And sorry, I was wondering where the dog was at. And they ghosted us to the point that this was a broker I had a pretty good repertoire with. I had him on GChat, and he ghosted me, blocked me. And I wasn't me. It was once a day. He would say, "Good morning. You got any empty trucks?" Well, I need that detention first. I was told not to book with you until we get that detention. It's not like $30, $40. So hold on a second. Sorry, dog was harassing the cat. So anyways, my numbers are going to hurt for a while because I have not been consistent with my live feeds. I need to be better about doing videos, recorded videos. I know when it comes to YouTube, I'm horrible. I mean, that's not me putting myself down. That's me in a world where there's like 15 billion YouTube videos, it's tough to raise your hand and get noticed, you know. But I do this to help you guys and gals, and that wears me out too. I like helping people. I want to help people succeed. And I'm not some guru, I'm not some be all end all. I make mistakes. However, there's a few things that I know. One of them is how to go out of business as a trucking company. Not because I've done it myself. My trucking company did pretty good. You know, the time that, you know, I was an owner operator, I did fairly well. I struggled. I made mistakes. I learned from them. But because I see what takes other people out. You know, there are carriers that I see going out, you know, and the big carriers, the small carriers, the one truck operations, the 10 truck operations. And you know, and it's tough. I mean, cuz you got circumstances that are beyond your control, like an accident or death of a family member, or you know, health. You know, a lot of you are just one health issue away from losing your CDL. And it's important that you take care of yourself. And I think that we take care of ourselves in the wrong ways. I know a driver that bases their brakes on what restaurants they could eat at that night. And this is not a healthy person. And so, and it's one of these people that like, this is all I know. The CDL is all I know. And here's the thing. We're not going to talk about small market just yet. That seems to bore you guys anyways. And I'm guilty of this because I was close to 400 pounds at one point. So I get it. But there's a lot of people that I ask that they're miserable in trucking. Oh, I hate trucking. I hate doing this. It's not fun anymore. The magic is gone. The glory's gone. Blah, blah, blah. And then I go, well, why do you do it? What else am I going to do? I don't know how to do anything else. Everything is riding on me being a truck driver. But then when you don't take care of yourself and you lose your CDL, then what do you got? Do you have any other skills? Do you have a plan? Do you have a plan if you lose your CDL? You know, you could get in an accident watching your TikToks going down the road, because I know a bunch of you do. And they'll take your CDL for that, if not jail. Then what? You have to take care of yourself. Because if all you got is trucking, well, then act like that's all you got. You know, here's the thing. We live in a world of entitlement. And I'll give you an example. When I was at Schneider, I used to go to the OC a lot in Dallas. And if you're going eastbound on 20, you get off the ramp, you take a left, take another left, and then Schneider's the first right. It was. The OC is further down now off of 45. And there was a family. There was a guy and a gal and two little kids, like probably 8 to 10-year-old range, out there holding signs. We need food. We need food. Now, the load that I just done previous to that, there was a reefer guy who had a bunch of peppers rejected. They were like these They look like bell peppers. I forget what kind of peppers are called, but they were pretty sweet. They were good. They were good peppers. It's like I'll take a case of them. I won't eat them all, but I'll give them away, right? And so the guy, I open my window. He gets all excited. I hand him some peppers. I'm like, here's some food. Feed your family. He's like, "No, man, I'm okay. Thanks." And I'm sitting there thinking, I don't think you're really hungry then. And I run into this all the time. I have people that call me, "Hey, I need help with my business. I'm struggling here." People used to do consultation calls with me that outside the carrier, mind you, this is not, you know, carrier specific. It's just general because people call me, people email me, and I tell them the truth. And here's the thing. The truth can sometimes hurt, even though it's a form of love. If you sit there and tell somebody that, "Oh yeah, you're okay, you're fine. Go ahead and drink that next 6 beers. You're fine. You're it's okay." You're lying to that person. That's not love. It's like, "Look, dude, get off the beers. Stop doing that." That's showing love. It seems harsh at first, but it's love. Telling the truth is love. Okay? And so I have drivers call me, "Hey man, I'm struggling." I'm like, "Well, let's see what your operation looks like." Okay, and well, I don't do this, I don't do this, I don't do this, I don't do this, and I don't do this. Okay. You're up against millions of other truck drivers and trucking companies. And if you're struggling, maybe you look internally. And it's entitlement. You're not hungry enough. If you were truly starving, barring some kind of allergy, you would have taken those peppers. Because I have given food to homeless people that were just grateful. I mean, you can give a person stale bread and they'll be grateful for it if they're hungry enough. I mean, I would be. And look, people are in pain. And maybe his angle, what he was just using emotion. They just wanted handouts. They just wanted money. And they were, and it depressed me a little bit as I go into the Schneider yard because they're teaching these kids that, hey, just go on the street corner, hold up a sign, look sad, and people will give you money. And what is that going to do? It's going to ruin their lives because it's going to show a form of entitlement. Well, you got more than me, so give me some, right? And I think that we do that with brokers too. Well, the brokers are making more money than me, so give me some. Not realizing that a lot of the shippers hold the cards because the brokers are tripping over each other trying to get the lowest rate from the shipper, and then hopefully they can get the truck moved for that lower rate so they keep their profit margins. But everybody's profit margins on the brokerage side are probably struggling a little bit right now. Why? Because rates are up, volumes are up, capacity is tightened. The non-domicile CDL thing is making an impact finally, and not getting political. I did watch the State of the Union address, and Trump mentioned about non-domiciled CDLs and illegal aliens being put in semi trucks, and he showcased a small girl that was injured, almost died because of an accident from an illegally obtained CDL driver that crashed. So there's some changes coming up. The brokers aren't ready for it. The shippers aren't ready for it. Now, the smart brokers educated their shippers and say we got to keep rates in a certain way, or we start losing trucking companies. But the bottom dollar is the bottom line. The dollar is the mighty you know um, well, it's what determines everything. And side note, I don't care what political fence you scream from. It's always interesting to watch the State of the Union address because you can just see how divided everything is. You can just see a lot of the fluff that has been, is told on both sides. And just know that no one is coming to save you, guys. No one's coming to save you. Yes, the non-domicile CDL thing is making an impact now, but what's going to replace that? Think about this. And I'm rambling here before we get into the freight. Here's what's going to replace it. Robots. Self-driving vehicles. Now, I know that, look, 5 years ago, all the YouTubers are screaming, doing the fear-mongering about autonomous trucks and all that stuff, right? And everybody's like, oh, it's impossible. They can't do this. They can't do this. They can't do this. Regardless of what we can or cannot think that they can do, or what we think they can or cannot do, it's going to make an impact in some way. And so when they say, oh, so many thousands of drivers left the market because of the non-domicile, we can't give those out anymore. Oh, here's a company, successfully hauling freight quietly, down the I-10 corridor between Phoenix and Dallas, And they're already looking at robots to replace human activities at factories, right? And the regulations are favoring the autonomous trucks, which is interesting to me because we could sit here and debate that it's wrong, it's not going to work, it's and the hypocrisy of it, because you don't have to follow hours of service, and that's really the big one right there. An autonomous truck is not bound to hours of service if it's unmanned, and there's unmanned trucks going down the road right now. But the hypocrisy is, so they know that the hours of service can be a hindrance, but we can't be left to our own devices as drivers because, if given the ability, we would drive 20 hours straight if we could, which is unsafe. Remember, I drove during the paper days at one point, and I know. I watched what, my dad did back in the day. But the other hypocrisy is pre-trips. People are like, how do you do a pre-trip in an autonomous truck? How do you know when the tire is blown? They got so many monitors and sensors. You got the tire, and sensors go bad. And look, there's a lot of complications to the autonomous trucking argument. However, they're pushing for it anyways. Think about this. Think about hours of service, right? When they were coming up with the rules of hour service, like, well, you've got this complication, you got this complication. What if this happens? What if this happens? What if this happens? What if this happens? Right? And did that keep them from passing the hours of service rules? No. They just said, sucks to be you, deal with it. And we'll give you a ticket if you don't. The best interest is the shippers want a lower rate. DOT wants compliance. And it's all about the mighty dollar. Okay. That's why the non-domicile CDLs were being passed out like chiclets, because it was about, hey, we can pay these people less so we can bring our costs down. That's the way it works. right? How many of you have Amazon Prime membership? I know I do. Why? Because it saves you in shipping. If you're ordering 10 things a month, man, that alone pays for it double, right? The $15 a month that you pay. And we want it here tomorrow, which is why, it justifies Amazon having 30 million, whatever, that's a rough number, of warehouses and drivers. It's all part of something that feeds the system, right? And so what you have to do as a driver is recognize the fact that they are against you. They don't like you. They want to replace you, either with someone that will sit down and shut up and do what they say, or a robot that will do what it's programmed to do. It's that simple. And so when I run into an owner operator who self-dispatches and sits there and says, I don't do this, I don't do this, I don't do this, I don't do this, and they've got zero credit, no money in the bank, and they're broke, and their truck's all, hurting, it's time to go. It's time for you to go. And it's exhausting trying to help people that won't help themselves. Now, I'm not holier than thou. I speak from experience because I was once the guy that said, I don't do this, I don't do this, I don't do this, I don't do this. Even though as a company driver, I did everything. Been to all 48 states. Well, I never went to Nevada, but I did go to Nevada eventually, but not in a truck. I'm talking Maine, Washington State, been down Laredo, been 5 miles from the Canadian border, did a 12 stopper in Montana. And I was tired. I didn't want to do all that. So I'll buy my own truck and dispatch myself and go where I want. Well, the truck was like, dude, I need more money. And the truck dictates your business. It gets the money before the family does. It gets the money before you do. Why do you think all these lease purchases, they take the money directly? Sorry, I got to check the emails here. Now, you might sit there and laugh, oh, yeah, autonomous trucks are never going to take over. Well, brokers thought that AI would never take over, but a lot of them are losing their jobs because of that. Sorry, I'm looking at this other screen here. I don't know how to manipulate a screen. Every single day, I'm talking to an AI person either via email or voice. Hi, I'm an AI agent. What is your MC number so we can start our conversation? I tell them. Yes. What load are you looking for? You tell them the number. Great. Here's the details of the load. And you hear this. All right, this load is freight of all kinds, and it picks up in Atlanta, Georgia between 8 a.m. and 2 p.m. and delivers in Miami, Florida. And we're looking at a rate of $2,100. Will that work for you? No. Okay. What is your best rate? $4,000. Hold on while I get you to an actual agent. And then Joe comes up, hey, what's up, man? Yeah, what's your MC number? And like, but the AI has become the filter, right? Every single day, to the point that I'd rather email this thing than talk to them. And it was funny. I was on the phone with the driver. We were looking for a load for her. I'm like, oh, here's a load. We were looking at the load board. Here's a load. It's picking up, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, well, there's a phone number. Why are you going to email him? You want to call him? Let's call him. So we get in a three-way call, and sure enough, it's AI. I said, look, if I'm going to talk to an AI, I'd rather do that on email where I can still look for other loads while I'm negotiating with a computer. In the old days, if you're trying to book $1,000 load for $2,000, they would just hang up on you. Brokers like, some would get mad, and some would just laugh and then hang up on you, and then lock, right? Well, they do that digitally too. You might call like, oh, here's this broker on their load board has a load for X amount. I'm going to put this ridiculous amount in, and it won't even tell you that your bid's been offered. It won't even tell you that your bid's been placed. and and you're like, huh? And then the load disappears off their board, like not because it's gone, but because they don't want you to see it because you're being a butthead about it, right? This is the new world that we're living in. This is the world of logistics. AI is taking over. It's determining the pricing, it's determining the capacity, it's evaluating everything. If you're a company fleet manager and you've got 20 trucks, you can now use AI to dispatch said trucks based off it can look at the logbooks. It can even get down to the drivers' attitudes and the places that they like to go. That's how crazy this world is getting. And so when you sit there and you go, I don't do this, I don't do this, I don't do this, I don't do this, and you're one frosty away from losing your CDL, it's very exhausting to see this happening in real time. Back in 2020, when I was still in the truck, I was doing my morning coffee lives were just morning coffee thoughts. They weren't live. They were recorded videos of me sitting in the seat, just like 90% of America on TikTok, and sitting there going, hey, here's my thoughts. And one of my thoughts was, in order to survive what is coming, and that was the COVIDs, right? You were going to have to be physically strong, mentally strong, financially strong, and spiritually strong. I was not wrong. Everybody's finances got flooded with these EIDL loans and triple P loans, and like, now we can do whatever we want. Never mind that $60,000 to $100,000 I'm in debt. Now that's just 4%. That's like $200 a month. Yeah, for the next 30 years. How many trucking companies do you know that have been around for 30 years on your level? Small level, right? Next thing you know, we're eating good. Rates are through the roof. And the government says, yeah, we'll give you a couple of years before we're even billing you. It'll be okay. And then people started to drop like flies. Because when it came time to pay the piper, it was a bad deal. We get entitled, we get comfortable, and we forget how to work. And I'm pointing the finger at me too. When rates dropped like a rock during COVID and the shutdowns were happening, they were rioting in the streets over something. I didn't move my truck for 10 days. And finally, something's like, hey, dude, you got to move, man. Even if you're taking a loss, a little loss is better than a big loss. Come on, you got to move, right? So I did. I found the strategy and it worked. if something's hard, why is it hard? Is it because of something you're doing, or is it because something you don't know? When you first enter the spot market, it's hard. Okay, it's difficult. So the adversity is because you have a lot to learn. But then after a while, when you've been in the spot market for a couple of years and you still have this adversity in the spot market, it's because you're not learning. So that's self-inflicted. Again, I say this with peace and love. That's I think, what was it, Paul McCartney who said that, or Ringo's? I don't know. But a lot of people don't want to hear the truth. I had one person unfriend me on Facebook because I told him the truth about his lease purchase. Then he ended up quitting later anyways. Logistics is a big world, and you got to find where you fit in. But you got to get good at it. You got to have some miles under your belt. You got to have some years under your belt. You got to have the willingness to learn and be teachable. And that's with anything in life. Most people that say, I go, why are you miserable in trucking? Why are you still in trucking if you're miserable? Well, there's nothing else I can do. I have found that most people that tell me that are not teachable. They're not willing to learn something new. So, anyways, that's my soapbox moment for today. We've been at this for 32 minutes. Look, if you need some help, email me, snorelord@yahoo.com, or you can go to my website, snorelord.net, and I'll help you. But prepare to hear the truth. I'm not going to be brutal. I'm not going to be like, sucks to be you, dude. You're stupid. I'm not going to do that. But what I will say is, well, and I'll give you an experience that I experienced. Oh, there was a time where I was behind on my truck payment, and so I had to stay out. I took that high paying load into, this area that I normally don't run. But, that's how I overcame that. Look, if you want to run the spot market and you want to just go where you want leisurely, you have to earn your way to that point. You can't do it with the $1,500 a week truck payment. Unless, you've got a wife at home that's rich, or a husband at home that's rich. But why would you be out here anyways if that was going on? Number one. You can't do that if your home bills are through the roof. If you got if you got all new vehicles and your house payment's pretty high, and you've got 8 kids and they're all going to college, you can't afford to be picky. Hey, here's the highest paying load. It's 10 stops. It's paying better than anything else on the board, and it's going into New York City. Well, then you do that load, right? Because you got bills to pay. You don't have the luxury to go, I don't know. I'll find the load tomorrow. Okay, but you're broke. Your truck's broke, right? Now, thanks to the EIDL and Triple P loans, it took a long time for those people to go out of business because they were living off that money. Something that would naturally occur did not naturally occur. Next thing you know, we've got overabundance of capacity. Add the non-domicile CDLs in there, and our rates tanked. Understanding the ebb and flow of the spot market, of logistics, is important in this game. You don't want to find yourself in Denver, Colorado going, man, I can't seem to find anything above $1.50 a mile. That's weird. Why is that? Oh, huh. You know, and But if you understood logistics and you had the right tools, then you would know, hey, if I go to Denver, I got to get 1,000 more than what the 15-day is because I'm going to deadhead about 600 miles to Kansas City. Just get out because I'm not even dealing with $1.20 beer loads that are 45 plus, in the mountains, right? Or you can sit there and say, I'm going to find a direct shipper out of Denver that will pay really good. Well, guess what? The local trucking companies already have that in the bag, number one. And number two, if you're a shipper customer in Denver, you're paying less for shipping than the person that is got a business in Columbus, Ohio. Why? Because that's what the market demands, right? So this is my soapbox moment. If you can't help yourself, how do you expect other people to help? And it's not just in trucking, it's everything in life. If you are not holding yourself accountable for your actions and your life still sucks, then you have to take a look deep inside yourself, forgive yourself, and then start going forward. I had to do that for myself. So I'm not speaking like, oh, la, 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 like a lot of these YouTubers do. I am speaking from my weakened, humbled experience that I've gone through. So if you call me and want my help, I'm going to tell you the truth. And if there's something I don't know, I'm going to say, I don't know, dude. Sucks to be you. But I'll do what I can. But what I have found is most people that want help don't want the help. No different than the person that I tried to hand actual little food to on the exit ramp in Lancaster, Texas, on the way to the old Snyder terminal. He didn't want the real food. He just wanted something fast and easy. Because he didn't want to, like, oh crap, he's giving me actual food. No, I'm good, man. Then you weren't hungry. You know? Gotta get on the other side of that. Well. Sorry, my dog needed a break. He was like, man, this dude talks too much. I'm out. So let's do some comments and then we'll take a look at the load boards. Music City Transport, good morning. Jerome Jones, good morning. Truck with Tom, good morning. Hey, you coming back? You got a reefer trailer yet? Nothing Woody is in the house. Good morning with her paper clip cute self. I love trucking. I really love it. I have to make intentional decisions and take action to walk rest areas on my 30 each shift and before and after. Yes, if you love trucking, then you have to love yourself and take care of yourself. Sage, what's up? Hey now, he says. Norman, what's up? Good morning. Cheap Freight says too many have the thought of make as much possible today and we'll cry tomorrow about the high cost of shipping once we drive capacity out. It's balance, right? Spot on, charge shipper more, pay carrier less, maximize profits. Should I go lease a truck? Is it gangbusters now? Tsunami? I think you're being funny. Dang, I feel like you were talking about me. Look, in all seriousness, Tsunami, if you're going to lease a truck, make sure the payments are reasonable. It's that simple. And you got a backup plan, and you've got money in the bank, and you've got good credit to where you're not dependent on that carrier. These carriers that charge $1,500 a week for a truck payment for the same truck that you can get at Freightliner for about $50,000 less, you don't want any part of that because their goal is not to make you successful. Their goal is for you to haul their freight and you pay the bills. So now, if you find a company like our lease purchase deals are pretty reasonable, and as long as you got your act together, man, you can make money here. We're up to 7 lease purchase trucks now, and they're all doing all right. And the ones that struggle a little bit, it's because of the driver, not because of the lease payment. For 10 years, people painted a dark picture of me regarding autonomous trucks. When the white-collar office jobs will go away before, a lot more to trucking than driving down the freeway. Yeah, there is a lot more to trucking than driving down the freeway. None of us have a crystal ball, but being able to pivot and react to the changes is part of the game. Exactly. We can have a Black Swan event happen tomorrow in Music City, and completely, I mean, that's what COVID did. Rates were doing all right, and we're all sitting there at Matt's. I was in my truck still, and we're all hanging out, partying out in the parking lot at Matt's. Everything was fine. That was literally months before the world crumbled away. And we were all clueless, right? But we adapted, and the ones that adapted and overcame did. And the ones that didn't, they're no longer in business. Grind to Pray, what's up? Thank you for your membership. One truck operator, I use AI daily. Yep. Built a TMS using AI and currently using it to build a website. Yep. Look, there's good points of, hey, what's up, Donald? There's good points of AI and there's bad points of AI. My message is it's here. And if you ain't utilizing it or know how to utilize it or know that it's going to be utilized against you, then you're already behind the 8 ball. Because it's here. It ain't going away. In fact, they're building more. And it's part of our world now. So, Chief Frailer, I'd like to learn more about that as well. Grind and Pray says, Paxton, my first experience was definitely challenging, knowing how to navigate spot market, fueling, etc. Thanks for your gems always, brother. Well, thank you. Jose, what's up? I'm 1,000% correct. Thank you. You were just in Lancaster yesterday. Yeah, that I always stayed at the OC, and even the OC wasn't 100% safe. Like they had a bunch of trucks broken into and batteries stolen, even though it's fenced in with barbed wire and the whole 9 yards. But I stayed there a lot because I utilized the Dallas market in Snyder and then also in the spot market. But spot market, we're pretty much not staying in Dallas unless it's the TA. You want to stay away from that pilot there in Lancaster because I remember one time I was with Snyder. I was picking up a load of water from Nestle Water right down the road, and I had to scale it. And I was on my way to Arkansas, and it was 2 a.m. I just gotten loaded. They took forever to load me, and there's no parking obviously. So I go on the fuel island. I get my fuel. And then I get my CAT scale ticket and I pull forward. Now, this whole process between getting the CAT scale ticket, the fuel, and getting my coffee, which there's a funny story with that too. I was there for a half an hour. Now, there was no trucks behind me. Don't get everything in a wad here. And I got a message on my Qualcomm. Do not park at that pilot. If you need a place to park, here's the address to the OC. I mean, they were freaking out. There was an automated message that detected I was at that pilot too long. And what's interesting is I walked in and there's a security guard. It's like some old dude that probably 90 pounds wet, right? And he's sitting there like, and what I would do is I would take my mug and I would get the hot water for later. so I could have tea later. Put it in a mug, and one of those big, huge Yeti mugs, and that way. And he demanded to see the inside of that cup, like I was stealing coffee. I'm like, you literally have all kinds of crime going out in this parking lot, but you're worried about me stealing coffee that they're just going to throw away when it's not fresh anymore. It's like, meanwhile, I paid for my coffee. The world is messed up, people. Everything's backwards. Like, and every day you should wake up and like, oh, I guess we're doing this now. Because you can't control it. You can only control your reaction to it. David Edwards, what's up? Pam, what's up? All right. So let's share the screen. And first of all, if you're in the Northeast for the last couple of days, you've probably had a fairly hard time with things. But right now, it's kind of slowed down. Pennsylvania's still got a bunch of snow. Upstate New York, of course, that's almost 24/7 there. It's like Alaska, but a lot of wind. If you're crossing the country in any form of capacity, you're going to hit some high wind. That's what these are. The pink is red flag, and then this is all wind. And then there is some winter weather up here in Wyoming, western Wyoming. Imagine that. So all you drivers that sit there like, oh, I don't haul anything above 30,000 pounds. Well, good luck. You're going to struggle out here. Okay. That's one of the things that a lot of drivers will refuse. Well, I haul nothing but light loads. Okay. I get it. You get more net on the fuel, right? Here's the deal. Every single truck here at Like Trucking. Okay. I see all the codes that come up, the engine codes from Samsara. And the trucks that have the most problems with DPF are the trucks that always haul light, never haul heavy. That's not my opinion. That is a fact. You have to haul heavy load every now and then. Hauling 45.5, as long as you're legal, for 300 miles ain't a big deal. The truck's meant to work. That's what it's there for. And if you feel like your truck's going to fall apart because it actually has to work, then your truck is probably not long for this world. My first truck, Peterbilt, in the summertime, I had to haul light. Why? Because my truck wanted to overheat if I had to climb a mountain at all and it was above 80 degrees outside. And I knew that's a problem. But did I fix the problem? Not at that point. I'm just haul a light load. And hope that my truck didn't overheat. Now, how did I solve that problem? I just traded the truck in. I was like, I knew that thing was a ticking time bomb. It was going to cost me a lot of money, and I hated that truck. I liked it, but I hated it. We all have a love-hate relationship with our trucks. Don't get so attached to it that you can't sell it when it comes time to sell it. But don't hate it to the point that you won't take care of it. So that's my little lesson on light loads. I get it. But if we're going from St. Louis to Indianapolis where it's flat, or if we're going from, say, Macon, Georgia to, Port St. Lucie, Florida, doesn't matter what the weight is. As long as you're legal, as long as the scale house goes, okay, you're good. You're good. The truck needs that. And I've seen it over. And 2009 is when I drove my first DPF. Well, not my first DPF, but my first DEF truck. And you know what? We were constantly doing loads to Pennsylvania, heavy. You know, look, here's the thing. So a lot of people are like, oh, I'm going to get contract freight. Screw brokers. I'm going to get contract freight. Well, are you going to go to Procter & Gamble where most loads are over 40,000 pounds? Are you going to get contract freight with Anheuser-Busch where most loads are over 45? Are you willing to do that? Or let's say you have a contract with Pepsi and you're hauling mainly chips, but one day they got like, hey, man, as part of our contract, you need to do this load, and this load's paying, this load's 45.5. Are you not going to do it? So it's with everything else. Do you want to do load after load after load after load, through the mountains of Washington and Oregon of 45,000 and hope that your profit margins are good? That's a challenge. I get that. But you also don't want to do nothing but light loads where you're always afraid of getting blown over or sliding into the ditch because you got no weight. And your DPF issues are always going bad because the truck can't burn it off. The new trucks don't want you to idle above 1,000 to burn it off while you're idling. So it's got to burn it off sometime. So you sit there and you do a 34 and then you have a 5,000 pound load and then you idle for the whole weekend because, you don't have a credit card to get a hotel. So you sit there and idle for 3 days, spend about $40 in fuel just in idling, and then do another 300-mile run of 5,000 pounds. And then you do a 1,000-mile run at 5,000 pounds. Next thing you know, your DPF and your SCR it's all gone bad. And so that fuel savings, that money that you thought you were making because you were doing nothing but light loads, is now getting paid to Kenworth or International or Peterbilt to change out the SCR or to change out the DPF filter or to bake it all off, to do a forced regen. All of it goes away. that's there's balance. Did I take a 40,000 pound load through West Virginia? No. But was I afraid to doing the water loads that come out of Kansas City to Springfield or to Tulsa or to Fayetteville, that were 45 plus? Absolutely not. I did those because they paid well. The Anheuser-Busch loads from St. Louis to Springfield or St. Louis to Joplin, those easily pay $1,000 to $1,200 a piece. We're 200 miles. Oh, but I don't haul that because it's heavy. Right? So, anyways, I can go on forever, and I know I'm being really kind of a butthead today, but I'm fed up, right? Jeff and Shannon were talking to me yesterday. I think they could sense it in my voice. I was getting annoyed at things because here's the deal. And I come from a place of understanding. And I do know that the more a truck moves and the less pickier a driver is, the more money they make. It's that simple. That simple. You want to be a travel agent and go only where you want to go? I get that. But see, when I was doing that, my truck was paid off. My home bills were real low. And I could afford to do that. But I had to earn that. The first month I owned the truck, I stayed a full month out. I know some of you are like, I spend 3 months out all the time. Well, for me, a month was my limit because even long haul as a company driver, I was home every other weekend, or if not within 3 weeks. So being out a month was the limit for me, my wife, and my kids. But man, my pocketbook didn't struggle. And I had to do that because I missed a month of running, because from the month that I bought my truck to going to Landstar was a full month. And so there was no money coming in at all, except for my wife's job, right? So I had to do what needed to be done. And then when that truck was not good to me anymore, and I knew a lot of repairs were coming down the line, it was approaching, 900,000 miles. It was time for it to go. And so I got a truck with a cheaper payment, a warranty, and had better fuel mileage. And it was a truck that I actually liked. That was the green one. That was the green machine. And the first load I did in that truck, so Schneider had to put all their stuff in, and I did it at the OC in St. Louis there, Edwardsville. The first load I picked was a load of empty oil bottles going to Glendale, West Virginia. And my dash showed 9.2 fuel mileage. I was ecstatic. I was like, wow. Because I did that same run in the Peterbilt, and I was lucky to get 6. You make adjustments. You keep options open, but you have to work your way to where you're like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to run during the snowstorm. I think I'm going to run down south where the freight is cheaper while everybody's in blizzard land, right? Here's a good question. Well, here, let me go with this. You guys are talking about electronic stuff. Granted Prey says these semi trucks made to haul heavy actually hauling lightweight all the time. Hinders the truck, causes more issues long run maintenance wise. It's a proven fact. There you go. Sean says Carlisle OC breakfast getting smaller portions, 35% off the top. Should be bigger food portions. I think I stayed at the OC once in Pennsylvania. That one, the Carlisle. Steve, are you seeing drivers changing their habits because of the current freight rates? Examples, one that normally stays out a few weeks now going home more. Yes. Complacency is already starting to set in with a few people I know. Again, I was guilty of that myself. Look, there's a lot of lessons that I've learned that if someone put a gun to my head and said, you have to be an owner operator again, first I'd fight them and try some kung fu stuff. And then if I didn't get shot, then okay, I would pick a truck with a good warranty with a reasonable payment, and I would run my butt off as these rates are really high. Would I stay out 3 months at a time? No, because burnout is a thing. If you burn yourself out and then you end up taking 2 months off because you work for 3 months straight, that doesn't do you any good. So it was always about balance. So for me, it was like every other weekend I would go home, just like I was taught in the first 6 years of being a company driver. Because eventually you need a restart. And I'd rather do those at home. And I live in a good freight area. I live right off of the interstate. So it's easy for me to do. Now, if you're living in Wyoming or Montana or North Dakota or South Dakota or BFE, Utah, that's a little bit harder to go home every other weekend. But if you live in, say Missouri, Illinois, Ohio, Indiana, Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Atlanta, Georgia, Arkansas, you can do pretty good and be home every other weekend. It's about balance, right? But I deal with people that I've talked to people that, oh, here's a load, one and done for 10 grand going into Maine. But it's 45.5 and there's a snowstorm coming. They'd be like, no, I'm out. I'm not doing it. For 300 miles or something stupid like that. You're not hungry enough. It's that simple. So for me, it's always about balance. When I'm dispatching a truck, I try to find balance according to their personality, according to what their wants and needs. And as long as they're not too unrealistic, I will make them happen. But every now and then I'll see a load. I'm like, hey, I know you hate heavy loads, but check this one out. I know this customer. I know this deal. It's easy and it's paying 3 times more than what the 15-day is because it's desperate. They got to move it, but it's 43.5. Let's do it. You got to have some flexibility because you've got so many millions of drivers out there that are your competition. So many millions of so many thousands of trucking companies out there. You know what? And it's all part of the game, right? There you go, David. Honest evaluation of your situation is a must, and that's what I do. I give people honest evaluations. And some people don't like that. The other example is ones that normally come home every weekend, staying out, or now because it'll change. There's one driver I know that wanted to be home every weekend. And so that's what I did. I dispatched him. And we got him home every week, which he lived in a good freight area. It was a bit of a challenge because he didn't want to do 34s on the road. However, he started to dispatch himself, which was fine because he's a pretty smart dude. He knows what's going on. He was just kind of leaning on me in the beginning, which is fine. That's what I do. I train drivers how to help themselves. And next thing you know, as he's dispatching himself and he's getting better and better rates, he's staying out more. And that's essentially what I did with my own truck. It's like, hey, while the rate, make hay while the sun's shining. I watch. I haven't watched him lately, but Sammy makes sense. Sammy Lloyd from Makes Sense. He got into the owner operator game because he wanted to work. Basically he would run his butt off the first 2 or 3 weeks of the month and then take the month off or the rest of the month off. And that's kind of how I ran at Landstar. I would get the money up to a certain level and then I would be relaxed for the rest of the month. And get all your bills paid in the beginning, and then you can relax the rest of the month, which is why, check this out. It's going to blow your mind. Why is it? Why do you think that most lease purchases are weekly? Because if they charged you monthly, you might have a tendency to go, you know what? Here's your $4,000. I'm taking the rest of the week off because that's not productive to their freight that they need moved. Think about that. Now, here at Like Trucking, your lease payments are every day, but you're in control, right? And some people take off 2 weeks in a month and they're still able to pay the bill. So give me a second here. All right. You know, Sterling made me a couple of videos that I could play while I'm on the phone or whatever, and I tried uploading them. StreamYard's like, that's too much, too big. We can't be friends if you don't enable me and go along with all my bad ideas, like my current dispatcher. That's funny. What up, old man? What's up, cornbread? Years ago, I leased the old flat top from Dart and like that everyday payment. Weekly is fine too, really. Look, I mean, if you're wanting to relax the rest of the month, as long as you pay the bill, go for it. We have 2 trucks here at Like Trucking that they're not even running, but they pay Jeff the fixed costs. Now, granted, they're not lease trucks, so there's that, but they pay the insurance and the bills and the plate payment, and it's like they have a truck on retainer. Okay, calm down. Hey, I'm gonna yank out my microphone. Sit, Ubu, sit. There you go. All right. So dog needed in, and he's all when he sits outside for a long time, he's like, "Man, it's cold, so I'm gonna run around the house like a banshee." All right. So the market is looking pretty good. We're almost in the neutral zone with van reefers. Look at flatbed; it's in the high tight capacity. But overall, we're looking pretty good right now. And spring stuff is shipping right now. Even though it's February, it's shipping. As cheap freight hauler has shown that he's doing a lot of equipment. I'm seeing a lot of those loads too. And you got drivers out there like, I don't do multiple stop. Okay, well, then cheap freight hauler will take those John Deere tractors, right? So, you're at 243 a mile in van. You're at 271. Oh my gosh. 271 a mile in flatbed, and you're at 299 a mile in reefer, right? No, 290. Sorry. I got my glasses on, but I still can't see. There we go. Yeah, 290. Capacity's tight. That's what this chart is. We won't get into the specifics. And then here's truck stops numbers. And then total spot loads is up. Look at that. Look at that. Look at last year compared to last year. This is what this orange line is last year. And then, but we're on the 5-year average. So that's how bad things were. We're at average, and it's okay, but it feels good. Why? Because it's been cold for so long, right? Now, I haven't seen if the stock market has reacted to Trump's State of the Union address or not. But regardless, if there's a bit of confidence out there and there's people trying to make investments, that's going to help things. But I think a lot of this is tightness in the, because a lot of capacity is leaving the country, but leaving the industry. So we're going to make this quick. We're not going to dwell on any loads. We're just going to show you the maps and the in and out ratios, and then we'll be over. This is the 123 load board. If you go to their website, 123loadboard.com, 48065 is my code. Try it out for free for 30 days. You can have access to all these tools. It's a good load board. It's got a lot of tools. It'll show you profit margins, etc. And they're working hard to get more brokers to post on here. But look at this. A lot of drivers that are new to the spot market. Where should I run? Here. See these green states? Here. Not here. Maybe here if you know what you're doing, but not here, especially this time of year. Here's where you want to be. Okay. Hold on. I watched Jeff's last whiteboard, your truck's best deal out there, dollar for dollar. Yeah, I agree with that. Look, I'm not a big fan of lease purchases. I never did one myself. And so when Jeff first started talking about it, I was like, look, make the payments reasonable. I told Shannon the same thing. So make the payments reasonable where the driver can pay that truck off and be successful and it'll be good. That's the problem with Schneider Finance trucks a lot of times. Schneider Finance is designed for the Schneider platform. You can do the drop and hooks. You can keep rolling. You can find freight on a Sunday morning, right? But in the spot market, Schneider Finance trucks are a bigger challenge. Or if you bring it to a carrier, to haul their contract freight, it could be a challenge. Schneider Finance trucks are designed for Schneider only. And now, if you can make it work outside of Schneider, then more power to you. But that's a rare case. It's not the norm. Don't believe me? Go to any Schneider yard and look how many Schneider Finance trucks are sitting there empty with no, they're like lost puppies without an owner. Right? But I told Jeff, let's make the truck payments reasonable. And so he found trucks that are reasonable. He found the warranty that's been, we've had one truck had a whole engine rebuild. Not a dime came out of our pocket. So there you go. That's what's successful. My coffee's cold. That annoys me. Weekly payments okay as long as you cover payment and fixed costs with revenue coming in. Monthly payments can give you a little breathing and time. Cheap Freight says, I've done 17 stop plant loads. Y'all keep saying I don't do multiple stops. Who keeps saying that? Oh, you're all okay. You're saying I don't do multiple stops. We'll keep on doing that because Cheap Freight Hauler will grab those loads. Oh, thank you. Look at that. My wife heard my video and says, here's some hot coffee. Thank you, wife. She brought it my Iron Maiden mug. Right. I mean, she actually watches my videos. Can you believe that? She puts up with me all day and then still watches my videos. If I go live on the OG channel, she actually watches that. That's weird. She must like me or something. Stock market is way up right now, 350 plus. Oh, wow. Cool. Anyways, this is for van. And so if you want to do reefer here, that's bad for you. But if you want to do refrigerated freight, here's step deck. Oh, no, reefer. Let's take out. There we go. Those are the states you want to be in. And a lot of these yellow states are seasonal, right? Like Idaho, a lot of onions, potatoes, apples. The Carolinas are going to be a lot of meat, pork, chicken in the, in Kentucky and Arkansas and all that, and Missouri, and then eggs, a lot of eggplants in Missouri. Arizona, I normally I would dive deep into this, but I've wasted too much time on this platform here. So, speaking my piece. That's what happens when I don't go live for a while. I talk too much. And flatbed, here you go. These red states is where you're going to be challenged. Stay in the southeast. Like right now, there's 3,400 outbound loads in flatbed and out of Alabama. And look, a lot of people will complain about 123 not having the volume that DAT does. And I get that because I do use DAT as well. Here's the deal. 123 low board really shines in the flatbed world. You can see these numbers here. 2140 coming out of Mississippi, 3450 coming out of Alabama, 1229. But did you know that I actually talked to a flatbedder that lives in Georgia, and he was $200,000 in debt. And he told me, I don't do this. I don't tarp. I don't chain. I don't do this. He wanted one and done, easy strap flatbed loads. You live in the South. You literally live in the best freight market in the entire country in flatbed, and you can't make it. That's not a market problem. That's a you problem. Now, Cheap Freight makes a good point. 123 doesn't have the spammers that DAT does. This is true. I think their vetting process is a lot more intense, maybe. I don't know. But let's do a search here. Let's do let's look out of Kansas City. Here's Lenexa, Kansas, right? Here we go. This Lawrence, Kansas to New Jersey is posted 1, 2, 3, 4 times. Same weight, same date. Rate per mile changes. Why? Because they've changed the cities a little bit. So just because DAT has more volume doesn't mean that it's easier to find the load. But this is the number that you want to pay attention to. 733 results, 100 mile radius, not 150. 100-mile radius of Kansas City. So let's put this to 150. How many loads are picking up today? This is for today. 871. Take a look at this load. Let's go to Seattle for almost $3 a mile. That seems amazing, right? There's something up with this load. It's either not legit or their credit is bad or they've been hacked, right? But see, we're seeing some good long haul rates. Like Trinity, they're legit. St. Joseph, Missouri to Woodburn, Oregon, 40,000 pounds, $4,000, $225 a mile. This was at $1.60, $1.80 just a couple of months ago. Yeah, but I don't haul 40,000 pounds. Okay. Integrity, they're legit. Abilene, Kansas to Largo, Florida, 3,800. How's that compared to the 15-day? That's not going to tell me. Okay. So, anyways. Look, I'm an affiliate for 123 Low Board. There's ways to support the channel. I do use this every day. Look, here's my tabs when I open up. I've got 123 DAT, and then I got several brokers. And I'm not going to tell you which ones. Those of you who know me know which ones I'm talking about because I've got them on GChat. So I've literally got 24, well, not 24/7, but I've literally got full access to them at all times without having to call. And that's how I look for loads. And if we find ourselves in a place like Miami, which I try not to do, but if the driver says, hey, send me to Miami, I'm like, okay, but you're deadheading, 500 miles up, or we're taking $1 a mile out, what do you want to do? So, and that's what I do. And 123 is an open tab all the time. Now, Pam brings up a great point. Downside to warranty is it doesn't cover downtime. So I bought a new truck and it was down for 5.5 weeks. The first year for warranty work, you have to have money for every possibility. This is true. But I know people that are down a month with the truck payment and no warranty. You can't, it's not sustainable. It's that simple, right? It's that simple. So thank you for your membership, by the way, Pam. Thank you for all the members. If you're a member of the channel, I appreciate you. Thank you very much. And the ways to support channel are down in that scrolling, annoying ticker tape thing you got going on down there. Look, if you need some help, I'll help you. But if I sense that you don't even want to help yourself, then, I'll say a prayer for you and then we'll go from there, because that's about all you got. So I hope that this truth, if it ticked you off, then figure out why it ticked you off and then deal with that. But for the most part, I just want to speak truth to you. And some people mistake that for hate. So that being said, strength for today, hope for tomorrow. And I hope that you are doing well. Take care of yourself. And keep on trucking. Later. Hopefully we'll see you Friday.